Question number 9. Suppose that a student is randomly selected from a large high school. The probability that the student is a senior is 0.22. The probability that the student has a driver's license is 30%. If the probability that the student is a senior or has a driver's license is 0.36, then what is the probability that the student is a senior and has a driver's license? Okay, so there's a lot going on in this paragraph. We're going to try to simplify it using some notation. Okay, so the probability that the student is a senior, I'll just use S for short, is 22%. Okay, the probability that the student has a driver's license, and we'll just use D to abbreviate that, is 30%. Okay. Then it says student is a senior or has a driver's license. So probability senior or has a driver's license is 0.36. And then the question is, what's the probability that the student's a senior and has a driver's license? So probability of senior and driver's license unknown. Okay. Well, normally I don't like to use formulas, but in this case, there is a formula that relates these four probabilities together, and we call it the general addition rule. Okay. So on the formula sheet, it's going to look a little like this. The probability of A or B is equal to the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. All right. So it's kind of, or probabilities indicate that we need to add. This last term represents double counts that we sometimes need to adjust for. Okay. Now, take this formula and replace the A's with S's and the B's with D's, and then we can just do some simple substitution. Okay, so all these A's become S's, and all these B's will become D's. Okay, and now we'll just plug in. So this will be 0.36 equals 0.22 plus 0.30 minus, let's just call it X. All right, so the sum here is 52%. Okay, I guess we could add 52% to, oh no, sorry, subtract 52% from both sides. Get negative X is equal to, what's that going to be, 16? 52 minus 36, yeah. Negative 16, sorry. And then divide both sides by negative 1. All right, so X is equal to 16%. Okay, and that matches choice E. All right. Now, we solved that with a formula, but I've tried to emphasize during this unit that if you could avoid formulas and find another way, that's probably better. So let's see if we can solve this using another method. Actually, let's not completely erase that, but let's just move it out of the way. Okay. All right, so I'm going to try creating a two-way table here. So we have senior and a non-senior, driver's license, and a non-driver's license. Okay, I'm just using the complement notation to indicate the event not happening. Okay. So we know that 22% of students are seniors. So let's write this as 100% here as the total. Okay, so 22% are seniors, so we can write that as the senior total. 30% have driver's license. We can write that as the driver's license total. And then I guess before we go any further, like we just use some mental math, that's 70%, and this is 78%. Okay. All right. Now we want to know the probability of the student being a senior and having a driver's license, which is that cell right there. We don't have a really direct way of figuring it out. Okay. I do know that the probability of being a senior or having a driver's license is 36%. Right? In other words, I know that these three cells have to add up to 36%. Okay. Because those three cells represent people who are seniors, but also people who have driver's license. Okay. There's going to be some overlap there. Okay. So if this section in green is 36%, and I know the total is 100%, then I can figure out that cell right there, right? 100 minus 36%, that should be 64%. Yeah. Right. Now that we know that, we can just use mental math to complete this column. Okay. 14 plus 64 makes 78. We can use mental math to complete this row. 6% plus 64% is 70%. And now we can use mental math to complete that row. 16 plus 14 is 30%. And also just make sure that everything works out in that column. 16 plus 6 is 22%. Okay. So there we have it. We found the probability of the student being a senior and having a driver's license as 16%. Okay. No formulas there.